Tonight on Global TV News Prime, federal government approves 4 billion naira conditional cash transfer for vulnerable households. In business, Nigerian Economic Summit Group projects 5.5% growth in gross domestic product. On the foreign scene, rain hampers rescue efforts after landslide kills 22 in Indonesia. Tonight in sport, Manchester City step up the review to sign Omar Mamush for £59 million. Hello and a very warm welcome to all of our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Prime on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Uyi Agmofobe, reminding all of our viewers that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and free to air on Nightcom. Let's begin tonight by telling you the Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace Development and the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority have been urged to revisit a draft policy proposing stricter sanctions on airlines for the increasing number of flight delays and cancellations across the country. The federal government, through the Central Resource Delivery Coordination Unit, made this recommendation during a performance assessment meeting held at the Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace Development in Abuja. A special advisor to the President on Policy and Coordination and head of the units, Hadiza Bala Uthman, said the meeting was part of the ongoing review of the first to third quarters 2024 performance assessment report on the implementation of presidential priorities and ministerial deliverables. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has urged the 10,000 newly passed out constables of the Nigeria Police Force to prioritize professionalism, fairness, and friendliness in the discharge of their duties. The police boss delivered this message at the passing out parade of the 2022 batch held at the Police Training School, Bauchi, today. Represented by Commissioner of Police, Bauchi State Command, Anwar Muhammad, Egbetokun stated that the ceremony marked the culmination of a 6-month rigorous training program conducted at 4 premier colleges and 12 police training schools across the nation. Speaker of the House of Representatives, Abbas Tajuddin, says food security is a fundamental right of citizens and not a privilege. The Speaker made this known in Abuja while delivering his keynote remarks as the guest of honor at a dialogue centered on food security. Tajuddin Abbas, who was represented by the House Committee Chairman on Nutrition and Food Security, DK John Okafor, says the National Assembly is committed to a comprehensive allocation for nutrition and food security programs in the country. He lamented that Nigeria faces high rates of malnutrition, particularly among the children, with a significant proportion of them suffering from stunted growth and micronutrient deficiencies. The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, mining marshals have unveiled their strategic operational plans for 2025. The Corps spokesperson, Babawale Afolabi, made the revelation in a statement where he stressed that the operational plans will be focusing on intensified field operations, strengthened regulatory compliance, and a renewed campaign against illegal mining activities. Additionally, the marshals aim to deepen their collaboration with the Mining Cadre Office to enhance the effectiveness of their mandate. The National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, says its operatives have rescued 9 pregnant women from a baby factory in the nation's capital, Abuja. This is contained in a statement by press officer of the agency, Vincent Adekoye, in Abuja, where he said the baby factory is situated at one of the sprawling estates in the Ushafa area in the Federal Capital Territory. He also said that the raid on the facility followed a tip-off from a concerned citizen, noting that the victims were locked up in an apartment inside the estate by a yet-to-be-identified suspected trafficking agent after they were recruited through an online platform. The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has destroyed fake, unadulterated and unregistered foods, drugs and cosmetic products worth over 1 billion naira seized in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. In a brief remark during the exercise, the Director General of the agency, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, said the destruction exercise is a crucial and routine operation that the agency conducts across all zones of the Federation. Professor Adeyeye, represented by the Director in her office, Festus Ukadike, stated that the goal of the exercise is to eliminate substandard, falsified and expired NAFDAC-regulated products from the supply chain. The federal government has approved 4 billion naira for conditional cash transfers to vulnerable households in Nigeria, set to commence in February and continue through April. Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Professor Nentawe Yewada, announced the interventions during the launch of the 2025 Humanitarian Needs and Response Plan at the United Nations House in Abuja. He said the initiative is aimed at addressing the country's deepening humanitarian crisis, as it is expected to support at least 10 million displaced households, primarily targeting the most vulnerable members of society. Nigeria's First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, has lauded the National Youth Service Corps NYSC scheme for its remarkable digital transformation. The First Lady gave the recommendation during the official commissioning of NYSC Digital Museum of Dynamic History and Television Studio in Abuja, praising the initiative as a significant step in modernizing the Corps. She also emphasized how these innovations will enhance the organization's ability to showcase its rich history and provide a more engaging platform for future generations of Nigerians. Tonight, let's turn to judicial matters. A Federal High Court in Abuja has cautioned the Inspector General of Police in the charge filed against Senator Andy Uba and 2 others over allegations bordering on 400 million naira fraud. Justice Yang Eko gave the warning after IGP's lawyer, MC Anthony, relied on the FHC Rules 2019 in a motion ex parte filed to seek an order for substituted service of the charge on Uba and his co-defendants. When the matter was called, Anthony, who announced appearance for the prosecution, told the court that he was holding brief for another counsel. The Lagos State government has issued a 48-hour ultimatum to traders operating under the Akpogbo Bridge and long drainage setbacks in Lagos Island to vacate the areas. The directive is part of the state's urban regeneration initiative aimed at improving infrastructure and tackling environmental challenges. Commissioner for the Environment and Water Resources, Tokunbo Wahab, announced this during an inspection of the Savage Legbata-Bombata drainage channel. The Court of Appeal sitting in Akure, Ondo State capital, has upheld the death sentence slammed on Chief Ramon Adedoye over the death of Anthony Adegoke, a student of Obafemi Awolowo University, who was found guilty by an Osun State High Court and subsequently sentenced to death. Adegoke was allegedly killed inside the Hilton Hotels owned by Adedoye on November 5, 2021. Justice Adekbele Ujo sentenced Adedoye and 2 members of his staff, Adeniyi Aderogba and Oyetunde Kazim, to death by hanging. Let's turn to other stories for you now. Following a report that the Alaafin-elect Prince Akeem Owoade had put traditional rites that usually precede the crowning of a new Alaafin on hold, the head of Oyo Princes, Chief Mukaila Afonja, says the new Alaafin has not even begun any seclusion rites. Afonja said this while speaking in an interview, assuring that the normal rites that all Alaafin usually undergo will start immediately after the 46th Alaafin comes back from Canada. Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State had presented a certificate and a staff of office to the new Alaafin at the executive chamber of the governor's office. This is Global Television in Abuja. You're watching the live broadcast of News Prime with Uyi Agumofebe coming to you from Nigeria. When the rest of the news returns shortly, South Korea investigators recommend impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol be charged with insurrection, abuse of power. We'll bring you those details from the foreign scene as well as other stories from business and sports. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us, everyone. Tonight, we continue News Prime with business. The Nigerian Economic Summit Group, NESG, says the country has the potential to record 5.5% growth in the gross domestic product on the back of sustained platforms. This was reviewed at the launch of the 2025 Macroeconomic Outlook by the group. During his presentation, Chief Economist and Director of Research and Development of the NESG, Dr. Olusegun Omishokin, said the NESG believes at the optimal level it embarks on more efficient policy reforms. The Nigerian economy has the potential for the GDP to speed up at 5.5%. The Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, LCCI, has proffered actionable solutions aimed at making the nation's economic landscape benefits businesses and strengthening economic growth and development. President of the Chamber, Gabriel Idausa, made the recommendations at the Chamber's first quarter news conference in Lagos, noting that while the recent gross domestic product growth figures highlighted commendable progress, gaps between current economic realities and the 2025 budgetary goals raised significant concerns. It also said by leveraging the 2025 budgetary allocations, government should introduce strategic incentives for subnational governments, especially at grassroots levels. Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, has endorsed the recently announced 50% hike in telecommunications tariffs, urging telecom companies to enhance their service quality in line with the price increase. The tariff adjustment, being the first in over a decade, was announced by the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, as part of efforts to revive the telecom sector, which has sparked widespread debates and mixed reactions across the country. Speaking at the ongoing 2025 World Economic Forum in Switzerland, Edwin described the hike as a necessary step to sustain the telecom industry amid rising inflation and operational costs. And now beyond Nigeria, Portugal has indicated plans to increase the purchases of liquefied natural gas from Nigeria and the United States as part of efforts to reduce dependence on the already dwindling supplies from Russia. A report quoted the Portuguese Environment Minister, Maria da Graça Carvalho, as saying the decision was taken following sanctions on Russian oil and gas imported through pipelines. Let's take you further into the foreign scene now. The death toll from a landslide on Indonesia's main island of Java rose to 22, with 4 people still missing as rescuers raced against time and bad weather to find survivors. Intense rainfall on Monday in the mountainous area near Pekalongan city in central Java province sparked the landslide, collapsing bridges and burying cars and houses. Officials say the rescuers started to clean the thick mud and debris from the roads, but the search was paused due to bad weather and the potential for further landslides. As we stay a bit longer in Asia now, South Korean investigators have recommended that impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol be charged with insurrection and abuse of power as they handed prosecutors the results of their probe into his ill-fated declaration of martial law. The Corruption Investigation Office said Yoon should be charged with what they called leading an insurrection and abuse of power after a 51-day probe into his December 3rd attempt to suspend civilian rule. The CIO noted that it had asked sole prosecutors to file charges against the sitting president, accusing him of conspiring with his former defense minister and other military commanders to disrupt the constitutional order. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has promised to pile $600 billion into U.S. trade and investments as he congratulated Donald Trump on his return to the White House. Prince Mohammed, de facto leader of the world's biggest oil exporter, made the pledge in a phone call following Trump's inauguration. Trump forged close relations with Riyadh in his first term and is now expected to push Saudi Arabia, home of Islam's holiest sites, towards normalizing ties with Israel as a major foreign policy objective. In spite of the ceasefire in the Gaza Strip, several violent encounters have occurred involving armed or masked Palestinians. An Israeli military spokesman said in one of such encounters, a man was killed, with the military identifying him as a fighter for the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, noting that in other cases, soldiers fired warning shots to keep masked suspects at a distance. Now time to turn to sports for some quick excitement. Manchester City have announced the signing of Eintracht Frankfurt forward Omar Mamouche, with Kyle Walker joining AC Milan on loan as the club step up their rebuild during a disappointing season. Egypt forward Mamouche has signed a 4.5-year contract with the Premier League champions for an initial fee of £59 million, an equivalent of $72.6 million, with add-ons worth a potential £4 million. He is City's third signing of the January transfer window, following the arrivals of defenders Abdulkadir Kuznetsov and Victor Reis as manager Pep Guardiola reshapes his squad. Still talking football, Real Madrid are the first football club to top €1 billion in revenue during a single season, fueled by income generated by the revamped Santiago Bernabeu Stadium. Financial experts Deloitte revealed that the order of the clubs at the top annual Football Money League stayed the same, with Madrid gulping €1.05 billion, €1.09 billion, followed by Premier League champions Manchester City with €838 million and Paris Saint-Germain with €806 million. Madrid have taken out loans totaling more than €1 billion since 2018 to renovate the Bernabeu, with the aim of turning it into a major source of revenue. Now talk about soccer and business. Mauricio Pochettino says he has been handed a welcome selection headache after welcoming his youthful United States squad wrap-up their January training camp with a 3-0 victory over Costa Rica in Florida this week. Goals from Major League Soccer-based players with Brian White, Cardin Clark, and Patrick Amyang completed a confident win for Pochettino's side at the Inter Enco Stadium in Orlando. With the games falling outside of the official FIFA window for international fixtures, Pochettino used the friendlies to run the rule over the U.S. talent pool, with most of his Europe-based players unavailable for selection. In tennis, Madison Keys fought back from a set down to shock Iga Swiatek in a no-biter and set up an Australian Open final against two-time defending champion Aryna Sabalenka. The 19th seed battled through a thrilling semi-final on a final sets tie-break against the world number 2 5-7, 6-1, 7-6 after Sabalenka had swept outside Paula Badosa in straight sets. Five-time Grand Slam champion Swiatek had not dropped her serve since the first round, but was broken 8 times by Keys, who saved match points on her way to edging a seesawing marathon battle into hours 35 minutes. Tricky and remarkable altogether. Let's wrap it up tonight on the news, but first off, we'll bring you a highlight of some of our top stories. The federal government has approved $4 billion for conditional cash transfers to vulnerable households in Nigeria. In business, the Nigerian Economic Summit Group NUSG says the country has the potential to record 5.5% growth in gross domestic products on the back of sustained reforms. On the foreign scene, death toll from a landslide on Indonesia's main island of Java rose to 22, with 4 people still missing as rescuers raced against time and bad weather to find survivors. And finally, in sports, we told you Manchester City have announced the signing of Eintracht Frankfurt forward Omar Mamouche, with Kyle Walker joining AC Milan on loan as the club step up their rebuild during a disappointing season. Tonight, that's how we call it a wrap on News Prime here on Global Television. A quick reminder that you can find us on DSTV channel 365, Stars I276, and free to air on Nightcomsat. We encourage all of our viewers to use our handle at Global TV NG, as well as others you now see on the screen, to engage with us across social media platforms. I am Uyag Mofrebe. On behalf of the entire production team here tonight at Global Television's headquarters in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, we say we appreciate your time with us. We will be back